All right, so get this, the Bybit hack. You guys send in tons of articles about it, and, well, $1.5 billion kind of just disappear. That's got to be like a crypto earthquake, right?
It's massive, yeah. And the timing is, well, it's almost perfect. It's like this whole idea of centralized crypto is suddenly on trial.
Makes you think, for sure. So, okay, picture this. Bybit, huge crypto exchange, doing their regular thing on like February 21st, 2025, moving Ether from their mega secure cold wallet to a warm wallet, one that's easier to access. Kind of like taking, I don't know, cash from a vault and putting it in the register, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where it gets crazy. It's not like the hackers, broke into the vault or anything. It's more like, imagine they hijacked the armored truck, on its way, just swapped the cash out completely, and nobody even blinked until it was way too late.
Hold on. How's that even possible? We're talking cold wallets. These things are supposed to be offline, like impenetrable. How do you even get to something like that?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? Fort Knox has got to open its doors sometime, right? And it's the same with cold wallets when they need to go online just for a second to do a transaction. Well, that's when they get a little exposed. Seems like the hackers, they figured out how to use that tiny little window.
Wow. So instead of going straight for the wallet, they targeted the exact moment it was connected. That's some seriously high-level stuff.
Totally. And they didn't just, set off alarms or anything. They completely went around them. It's like this. When you do a crypto transaction, you got to have a digital signature to prove it's legit. That happens through this thing called a signing interface. These guys, they hacked the interface itself so they could mess with the code for the transaction. But on the surface, everything looked totally normal.
Sneaky. So Bybit sees this authorized transfer happening, no red flags, and poof, the Ether is gone. Just like that.
Yeah, and they didn't waste any time either. Firms like Elliptic and Arkham Intelligence, they were tracking this stolen crypto. And it was like watching a magic trick. Moving through tons of wallets, then bam, laundered and sold off on different platforms. Total pros.
Which leads to the next question. Who did this? This isn't some, amateur hour thing. This is pro-level stuff.
Right. Well, all signs point to this group called the Lazarus Group. They're thought to be connected to the North Korean government, and they're kind of infamous for their crypto heists. Some of the biggest ones ever, actually.
Right. And they're not just doing it for fun, are they? There's got to be more to it than just stealing the money.
You got it. Think about it. North Korea, they're dealing with like crippling sanctions, right? So they've turned to cybercrime as a way to basically keep the government going. Every dollar, every crypto they steal, it all goes right back into funding their operations.
So this isn't just a heist. It's like international intrigue playing out on the blockchain. And even though Bybit's saying, everything's fine, we got this, how can anyone really feel safe after something this big? It has to shake people's trust, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And this isn't just about Bybit anymore. This whole thing, it's like a warning for every centralized crypto exchange out there. Hey, you're vulnerable.
Sure. Okay. But before we get too deep into that, let's zoom out for a sec. Haven't there been big exchange hacks before? This isn't like totally new, right?
You're right. It's not like the first time this has happened. Remember Mt. Gox back in 2014? That was a huge blow, like a real shock to the system. It even had a hand in like a Bitcoin crash. And then there's the Binance thing with their BNB token. That was 2022. And then, well, of course, the whole FTX collapse just last year. Every single one of those events, it was like the crypto world was rocked and everyone had to like rethink everything about security.
Okay, so how does this Bybit hack compare to those? Is it just more of the same, or is there something, something different about it this time?
Well, that makes it so interesting, honestly. See, hacks like Mt. Gox, they were huge, yeah, but they mostly focused on like one main cryptocurrency, Bitcoin usually. This Bybit thing, though, it's different. We're talking $1.5 billion potentially, and across a bunch of different digital assets. Could be the biggest we've ever seen.
So it's like they're getting bolder. It almost makes you wonder, if it could happen to Bybit, could it happen anywhere? What's stopping them from hitting like anyone else tomorrow?
$1 million question. This whole thing, it's a reminder that we're in this digital arms race, right? The hackers, they're constantly getting better, finding new ways to exploit any weakness they can find. The stakes are higher than ever, and the crypto world, it's got to adapt fast to stay ahead.
Okay, so we've got this incredibly brazen heist, a group of North Korean hackers, possibly, and an entire industry trying to figure out what hit them. what happens now? What does this mean for the future of crypto security?
That's what we're going to dig into in part 2, yeah. We'll get into the technical stuff, how the Lazarus Group works, and what we can learn for all the past exchange attacks. Because one thing's for sure, this is only the beginning of the story.
Definitely stay tuned. This is about to get good. Welcome back. All right, let's get technical for a minute and try to understand how they pulled off this Bybit hack. It's like, one of those heist movies, but for real this time and with way more on the line.
It is, yeah. And what gets me is how they did it, like, without anyone even noticing. It wasn't a smash and grab, more like ghosts just slipping through the cracks.
So they were waiting for that moment when the cold wallet had to go online to make the transfer to the warm wallet, right? But how did they even get in? These systems are supposed to have, like, layers of security.
Yeah, but even the toughest fortress has a weak spot, right? And in this case, it was the signing and smart contract interfaces that Bybit was using. Think of them like the software that's in charge of making sure everything on the blockchain happens like it should, verifying transactions and all that.
Okay, so they didn't go after the cold wall itself. They went after the software controlling the money.
Exactly. And they were like super precise. By hacking those interfaces, they could change the code for the transaction just slightly so the money went somewhere else. But to Bybit systems, everything looked totally normal.
So they basically redirected the money mid-transfer. Like some kind of hacker air traffic controller or something. That's wild.
I like that, the air traffic controller. And you got to remember, these blockchain transactions, they happen so fast. Once the money's gone, it's almost impossible to track, let alone get back. Like trying to, I don't know, catch smoke or something.
And this is where the Lazarus Group, they really shine, don't they? I mean, they've been linked to so many of these high-profile crypto heists, each one bigger and bolder than the last. What's their secret? Is it like pure tech skills or is there something more?
It's a mix, really. Skills for sure, but also they're patient, these guys. Like, incredibly patient. We'll spend, I don't know, months, maybe even years, studying their target, figuring out every little weakness, and then, bam, they hit.
So they're not just hackers. They're like digital archaeologists digging for those weak points.
Yeah, exactly. And then once they strike, they vanish. Like they were never even there. They're disciplined, organized, the whole package.
But it's not just about the tech, is it? This has like a global politics angle too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Don't forget, the Lazarus Group, they're thought to be working for the North Korean government. This isn't just about getting rich. It's about bringing in money for a country that's basically been cut off from the rest of the world financially.
So it's like economic warfare, but in the digital world.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. And it makes you think, about how countries are using cybercrime now. It's not just lone hackers anymore. It's governments getting involved, using their resources to cause chaos, basically.
Wow. Okay, so we've got this super sophisticated group, a high-value target, and a whole geopolitical backdrop. But haven't we, learned anything from all the other exchange hacks that have happened? Shouldn't we be better prepared by now?
It's a fair point. I mean, this isn't the first time the crypto world's been hit hard. We've seen it with Mt. Gox, Bitfinex, CoinCheck, even Binance and FTX. Every time, it's like a wake-up call, showing us we're weak and forcing the industry to adapt.
But if it keeps happening, does that mean, we're not learning the lessons? Are we just going to keep repeating the same mistakes?
It's not that simple. The thing is, crypto is changing so fast, and so are the threats. What worked yesterday might not work today, The hackers, they're always come up with new tricks, finding new ways to get in.
So it's like a never-ending game of cat and mouse. The exchanges build their defenses, and the hackers just figure out how to break them down.
Yeah, that's cybersecurity for you. But the good news is we learn something from every attack. We figure out what went wrong, change our tactics, and build new tools to fight back. It's a constant evolution.
Okay, so what are some of those lessons then? What have we learned from all those past exchange hacks? And how can they help us understand or even prevent something like this Bybit hack from happening again?
Well, one of the big things is understanding that security, it's not just a one-time thing. It's got to be constant, always adapting, always investing in the latest tech and doing things the right way.
So it's not enough to just build the fortress. You got to keep reinforcing it, updating the defenses, training the guards. Can't get complacent.
Exactly. Another thing we've learned, it's kind of a tough one, but it's people. People are usually the weakest link. Things like phishing attacks, social engineering, even just plain old carelessness, they all create openings for hackers to exploit.
So even with the best tech, it all comes down to the people using it, right? Like having a super high-tech security system, but leaving the front door wide open.
That's it. Yeah, perfect analogy. That's why it's so important for everyone to understand security. Everyone in the crypto world, from the developers to the executives to the everyday users, we all have a part to play.
So it's a team effort. We all got to look out for each other and be careful.
Exactly. Security is everyone's responsibility. And that's actually something we'll talk more about in part 3. We'll get into some of the new tech and strategies that could help us stop these kinds of attacks from happening in the first place. Because the future of crypto security, it depends on us learning from what's happened before and building a system that's tougher, more resilient.
Sounds good. Can't wait to hear more. All right, so we've talked about the Bybit hack, learned a thing or two from other exchange attacks, the whole history there. But let's get to the good stuff. Solutions. If we're in this digital arms race, what are the weapons we need, right?
Well, gotta admit, the old ways, they just don't cut it anymore. Passwords, two-factor authentication, all that, it's important, but it's not enough against what we're seeing now.
Yeah, got to up our game, right? So what's out there tech-wise that makes you feel, I don't know, hopeful about the future of all this? Crypto security, I mean.
One thing I'm really excited about is biometrics. Imagine your fingerprint, your iris scan, that's your key to everything crypto. Way more secure than a password someone could steal or guess, and so much easier to use, right?
Now that's what I'm talking about. No more remembering those crazy passwords or messing with like authentication apps. But what about the hackers? They always seem to find a way around everything, don't they?
That's where behavioral analysis comes in. It's like a digital detective, always watching your account, looking for anything out of the ordinary. So if someone tries to log in from, I don't know, a different country or something, or makes a transaction that just doesn't look like you, the system flags it immediately, stops the theft before it even happens.
So it's like a personalized security detail, always on the lookout. But we're talking about a ton of data here, right? How do you even analyze all that in real time?
AI, that's how. Artificial intelligence can go through, I don't know, mountains of data, find those little patterns and red flags that humans would just miss. It's like having like a superpowered security analyst working 24/7, always learning, always adapting.
Okay, so biometrics, behavioral analysis, AI, all working together. Sounds pretty solid. But what about the actual, the hardware itself? Anything new happening there to help out?
Definitely. Hardware wallets are getting better all the time. They offer a level of protection that software just can't match. These things store your private keys offline, so they're practically untouchable by hackers.
Like having your own Fort Knox for your crypto. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. And the way we manage crypto is changing too. Multi-signature wallets, for example, need multiple people to okay a transaction. Makes it a lot harder for one person to just run off with the funds.
This is like checks and balances, kind of like how a government works. Makes sense.
Right. And last but not least, collaboration. Exchanges, regulators, law enforcement, everyone's got to work together, share information, coordinate their efforts. That's the only way to really fight these big cybercrime groups.
Because if one of us is vulnerable, we all are, right? Makes sense to pool our resources and knowledge and all that.
Couldn't agree more. We can't afford to be complacent. The stakes are too high. The Bybit hack, as bad as it is, maybe it's a wake-up call, forces us to face our weaknesses and come up with solutions that'll make us stronger in the long run. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, this has been a really interesting deep dive. We've covered so much, the technical details, the global impact, and now what the future might hold for crypto security. So for everyone listening, what's the main takeaway? What should they be thinking about as they, try to navigate all this?
Stay informed, that's number one, and be proactive about your own security. Don't assume someone else is taking care of it for you. Do your research, pick good exchanges, and take steps to protect your own crypto. The tools are out there. You just got to use them.
And remember, this is all still pretty new, the whole crypto world. There will be bumps in the road, that's for sure. But I'm optimistic. I think we can learn from what's happened and build a system that's safer and more resilient for everyone.
I agree. This Bybit hack, yeah, it's a setback, but it could also be what pushes us forward. It's forcing us to confront our vulnerabilities, go up with solutions that make us stronger in the long run, and I think that's a good thing.
Well said. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Bybit hack and the future of crypto security. We'll be back soon to explore more of the world of technology and all the amazing things happening there. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe out there.